What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor. Thank you for tuning in. We're just getting like 2 or 3 more things ready, finishing my cough drop, and we're just gonna go have a blast. I'm just gonna send this link out to the old Discord. If I do everybody, I forget what it's been a minute. Going live if you want to join. Boom. Let's go there. Fantastic. Wonderful. Dave, yes, I did see SCNS. That is a nice little move there for sure. That's definitely something that's like, I guess it's getting some kind of FDA approval or something, Dave. Sorry, finishing my cough drop. I'm a little bit early, but you know how we do it here. Get that spin drift going, pop some bottles. Let's have some fun, boys. I got, have you ever had this before? Like, it's quite delicious. It's, if you love mineral water or sparkling water, this is the best probably. And it's not an opinion, that's a fact. But anywho, so SCNS, we've seen this one quite a bit. That was a huge pump. Pump's the wrong word. Huge momentum move. Then kind of got the potential weak hands out of it, and then it was still kind of holding the 34 EMA. And then the crazy growth stocks got hit. Fed blah blah blah. But now this is literally, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, this just the news cycle behind it. And it's got a nice move the past, what is this, last 4 or 5 days from like the $22.34 level has gone up pretty nice here. So statistically, looking at the chart here, we're going to be potentially looking for an easy price target to be hit there, Dave, around $3.53. So put an alert out on that one there. As you can see in the past, like this, it hasn't gone down to that level here, because you can see here, let me get out the old Epic pen so we can kind of just draw and highlight the zones that I'm talking about. So let's go with, that's the one. So looking at this level, like again, so that $2.34 there, it did go down to all the way to $1.62 in that range, and it was very choppy here. The lines that you see currently on the screen are the Fibonacci sequence here. We're looking for, if that $2.34 is a strong holding point, that this is potentially going to be coming up to the $3.53 level to potentially be hit. It doesn't mean it has to hit there precisely. It can easily just kind of cut through it and continue going higher, or just be completely rejected and come right back down. Again, I don't know. I can't tell the future, so just be ready for anything. And I think Dave has done more reading and researching of this than probably anyone I know. Yo, Ken, I found an ETF that strategy is pretty unique. XLSR. Active, I don't know what this does. This looks like, what's this? I don't know. So it trades, oh, so I was gonna say it looks like the S&P 500 though. What is, I found a ETF that strategy is pretty unique. Yeah, I think it's pretty unique too, but it kind of just weighs on what the S&P 500 is, where it's like mostly tech and financials and healthcare, and then it just basically, they don't care about anything else. But I didn't know that this existed, so thank you, Fab, for that, for bringing that to my attention. I like this, actually. Let me look. Do they have options? No options. That's a bummer. I like this. This is a nice, it's a unique product. Like, look at this crazy trend here, though. Like, this is what people call buying the dip here. Buying the dip, buying the dip, buying the dip. No one bought the dip, but it kind of took a little bit longer. And now people kind of bought the dip here. I don't know. this definitely has not a crazy amount of volume in here on trading, but it definitely um, found all the funds and used sector rotation strategy. Oh, that's very interesting. I'm going to add that to the interesting list in my notebook here. So it uses a active. I need to look into it. So let's say if whatever X billions of dollars are moving from energy into technology or vice versa. That's pretty interesting. Very interesting. So looking at the futures here now, we're going to be looking at the Nasdaq. It's down basically 25 basis points here. And the ES or the S&P 500 is down only about 10-ish, 15 basis points. Again, I don't take it too much. Again, I don't know if we're in a bear market. It's definitely in a very choppy market, and depending on who you're talking to, if you're below the 150 or 200 EMA on the daily chart, people consider that in a bear market. Some people consider a bear market where GDP growth declines at a steadily rate over, I think it was like 12 to 18 months. So it depends. Like, it's definitely a chop market, without a doubt. What's up, Ryan? What's up, my dude? So yeah, S&P 500 to 500 next year. Let's go. I mean, this year, who knows, right? So looking at the S&P 500 directly, so if we look from the swing high to the low, that was a 12.3% decline. That's pretty steep, right? Like the 12.3, that's not a crash. I'm doing air quotes if you're just listening. That's more of like a slight correction. And what is the main reason behind this potentially? It's going to be the Fed, right? Like everyone's like freaking out about the inflation rates, the lack of supplies and supply chain issue and bottlenecks. You hear that word a lot: bottlenecks this, bottlenecks that. I can't get chips to build my Ford trucks. I can't do all this kind of stuff. Blah 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 blah. Apple turned off the tracking of my app, and I lost to $11 billion and all this stuff. Excuses, right? That's a kind of a joke. That kind of sucks. But so with S&P 500, like you can't really make this shit up, honestly, here, guys. So we came from the swing high to swing low. Where did we hit? Huh? You see where we hit? We hit the 618 Fibonacci retracement. Okay, hit it literally almost to the T. We closed right below it. Okay, so that's a failed breakout. That is a nope. That is not cool. That is not cool, Stan. Don't do that, Stan. Make sure you act like a gentleman, Stan. But anyways, with that 457.36, that's that level where we're looking at to potentially get that breakout higher here. So it's the first move higher is never going to be the breakout. So that kind of is like in its own little category there. But what we're looking for is this not to break this level down here, right? Like we do not want to break this because that is basically just throwing everything out the window. This like because it what it does, it just resets everything, right? It just resets this Fibonacci retracement. So if this breaks lower below this, we'd have to reset it wherever it lands on the chain there. But that being said here, potentially you kind of have these W bottoms. What I mean by a W bottom is usually you don't get a straight V shape like this. Sometimes you do, as you saw in 2020. More likely in a chop market, you get like these W bottoms like this. It's kind of like a little choppy chop like this, and then maybe you get a breakout. Or not saying I'm going to be completely bullish on this, but it can be bearish too. Like it'd be breaking down lower on that standpoint. What's up, Makeshift Dave? Thanks, my friend. In the bearish Adam candlestick too. Yeah, I need to go back and study my candlesticks, honestly, make on how those the ones were always the most aggressive on is like when you see like this hammer mentality, like on this like longer with super long wick, that's usually like load up the truck and let's go kind of scenario. But I never honestly studied candlesticks to that extent. I'm more of a fan of volume. Ryan saying about Val. Yeah, this one, let me go look on the longer side. Yeah, this thing has definitely been beaten up. I think you bought this like sub $12, right, Ryan? And this has been a nice move higher here. We're finally seeing on the weekly side the 8 EMA potentially cut back through the 21 EMA, which is quite significant, to be quite honest with you. And then let's zoom in, let's enhance to the daily side here. We're coming up to that $16.80, which is a key level here as well, Ryan, to be well aware about. So if we see this, again, that's that Fibonacci high, swing high to low on the weekly charts though. That's from the low from 2020, but we can do a slightly updated version from this swing high to this swing high here. So this is, again, it broke past the 38.2, which is not the most significant Fibonacci level, but 1859, or just let's just call it 1855, 55, 60-ish range would be the next level if we do. So most people get this wrong too, is that 50 percentile move is not a Fibonacci sequence. It's just symmetrical. It's just a number that people kind of throw in there at times. It's not considered part of the Fibonacci sequence. So on that fact, it could hold some value, but it's not. If you're looking at the people who are just straight Fibonacci disciples, they're not really going to be following this to the T. The next level potentially to the wall or the ceiling of resistance would be around that 1860 level. Yeah, but I like it. I like it though. It is kind of making a comeback. It has a couple green volume bars down here, especially on the weekly side. It's looking pretty strong. And I know you've been in that for a while. Found it. SPGI. SPGI. That's the S&P Global Index. Oh wow. This looks like it holds up better than the other ones. Compared that to the okay. Let's do, we can do that. Let's do flex grid, and then we'll turn, hold on. I gotta do this. I don't want to mess everything up. I was gonna unlink this real fast. We're gonna do, was it compared to SPY? Let's do that, and we're gonna put this on the daily side. Yeah, definitely. This looks like much more beat down. Like, so we can look from the highest point to the lowest point. This thing was down over almost 19%, 19%. And then the SPY, from the trough from here, I think, what did we say? It was like 12 or something like that. Yeah, 12.3 ish. So this is definitely, this SPGI has gotten down much more than the SP 500. Let's see here. Lithium. Yeah, let's look at that. LTHM. We gotta go to the old daily chart on that. Yeah, I'm not seeing. It's coming up on earnings. You know, I'm a little fearful of that there, Ryan. That's always a big question mark going into that. I'm not too gung-ho about that. It's kind of still kind of like that kind of pattern. It needs to kind of consolidate some more for me. Again, it does have earnings coming out, which again is a coin flip. You know that. I really don't want to be too much. It's not a negative thing. It's more or less just being a cautious thing. It's more like it's going to be raining outside. Make sure you bring an umbrella kind of scenario. and just get ready for things and more like potentially volatility, which is what earnings does. And you can kind of see here a slightly pattern kind of forming here. It's not really getting back above the 55 EMA here, which is the white dots here. That's the 55 EMA on that standpoint there. So I know this one was kind of a market darling, I believe. Yeah, this is, I know we talked about this in this area here because it had a huge flip and squeeze on it, and it would just kind of potentially could gone gangbusters there. But yeah. Alpaca, what's up, my friend? Much love to you as well, my friend. I hope all is well and everything. Brian says, hey, Ken, Hood seems like it could be a strong bottom short term. So, Brian, Hood, this is the Robin Hood that we're talking about. I think it could, like, it definitely could do something for here, like, right? Like, I think it's Hood is such a unique place. Everything aside, we're not talking about management. We're not talking about that. I just think it has a unique place in the market. Can it finally? I think it's with these newer IPOs, especially this thing was $85 and it went down to $9. All right. Do you know how much of a decline that is on what do you think? What Joe Schmo imbecile bought it at $85? So 178 days ago to today, if you bought it at $85, you would be down 88, almost 89%. You would almost be 90% of lost. So if you had literally had, let's just make it simple math, $1,000 on this, you would be left with less than $100, right? Like almost $100 left. That's insane. That's what happens when, I'm not calling bubbles, but like when things gonna get out of hand. Like this is not normal. This is why I don't like the IPO market like this. When you kind of have to let it wait. You have to let it simmer. This is not like fast food. Let me just buy and get it. This is a nice, delicious. This is not going to Taco Bell. You're going to make your delicious pork carnitas, and that takes a lot of time. You have to cure. You have to get the sauce ready. You have to simmer it. You have to braise them. It is a lot of work to do that. It takes a lot of work for a stock to finally find its floor or support. And I think Hood is definitely in that standpoint where, you know what, $9.94 seems pretty cheap for Hood, right? But guess what? It can go to zero. Like, you have to understand that. It doesn't mean it's definitely a unique bottom. I think that it is the reason I kind of like it, and I might take a swing at it for some longer term options, is it's just hated so much, and it's just like a contrarian bet. Like, I understand you can talk about Charles Schwab, you can talk about all these other brokerages that are out there, but they didn't see the growth that they saw during 2020 and 2021 on the amount of crypto investing and trading, or just gambling in a lot of cases, to be quite honest with you, within the Robinhood marketplace. But like, did everyone just like blow themselves out, or there's actually some accounts there that can still kind of salvage this shit? But that's just kind of my certain point on that. Looking here on the technical side, it definitely could be somewhat building a bottom here around that 11 to 1250 range, but it's still very much very speculative play here, because it is, again, trying to come back up above water here. This thing is definitely being beaten down, so you have to kind of be very careful with that one, Brian. Rolling one, what's up, my friend? How you been? Tommy is asking about Skills is beat down and bad also. Yeah, that's definitely, but how much does Cathie Wood own of Hood, right? Isn't she been buying a shit ton of this stuff? Ugh, I haven't looked at Skills forever. Look at this. Oh my god. Ooh. Yeah, that's definitely, oh, that's nasty. That's a nasty beast. That is, I forget what skill. This is like the gaming stuff, right? Mobile gaming platform, yeah. Yeah, that is utterly disgusting. That is not pretty at all. Not pretty at all. Yeah, you're talking a 92% decline from the tip at top down to where we're looking at. That is, if you look at this on a weekly chart, if you look on the daily chart, it's still just being beat down. It's still kind of aggressively going down. So I can't really say too much there, Tommy, unless you know some fundamental information that I don't really follow or I really don't understand. Honestly, that's why I do technicals. Very much downtrend. I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Ryan says BZFD. Was it D or B? D. Oh, BuzzFeed. I totally forgot that they went public. Yeah, a perfect example, Ryan. I guess you probably posted this when I was talking about these IPO prices getting way ahead of themselves and it's just kind of coming back down. Yeah, this is just, I wouldn't want to touch this, honestly. Is that honestly not too much data I can go off of this on the technical side chart at the same time. But this is definitely something I don't want to, yeah, this is just a blow off top, large volume, and then just continuously decline. Maybe building a bottom here. I don't know. It's a $3 stock or $4 stocks, almost $5 stock. I really don't want to be touching this with a 10-foot pole. Makeshift's asking thoughts on GBTC. Oh, the grayscale. Yeah. So Makeshift, you should know this, right? Like maybe like I want to know who invests inside of this, who buys this stuff, because this decline from the tippy top to the bottom is about 61%. That's pretty severe, right? So and then if we go to it's called 61, 62%, right? I don't want to. And the upside downside, the biggest thing you want to understand about GBTC is the upside downside risk, right? Like, will I get the upside potential or the downside potential? I feel with this particular index on how this is marketed and how this is put together is you're not getting too much of the rewards to the upside, and at the same time you're just getting killed to the downside. So if you just literally just own Bitcoin, I think from let's see here, from the top it was like 70. Let's just go off of this here. To the bottom here was only 52%. Like we saw with GBTC, it was down over 60 some odd percent, and you're taking on more risk than you are potentially getting rewards, right? Like the incentives are not right there. So that's the way my brain kind of comprehends that. I'm like, why would I be paying for something on top of having and I think it has an ETF expense fee on there too, right? Where I'm getting slaughtered more than actually holding the real coin, right? I would rather just own the coin. That's just that makes sense. You're welcome, Brian. I think it will pop with the recent deployment of BTC, and BTC is moving, but let's see about 46. Yeah. Strictly with exact level at 46,600 range is what we're looking for, a break within to the upside for Bitcoin. Tommy's asking about Roblox. Yes. Our beloved super trader, aka Nancy Pelosi's husband, they own quite a bit of Roblox. They bought a bunch of calls, I believe, going out into September, I think, of next year. Maybe they bought like the 90 or 100 calls or something like that way back when. Of course, it has been completely obliterated, but I think this is something that potentially could bounce. Like, we're seeing again. This company makes money, right? Like, we're talking about like these really obscure companies, and they really don't have a substance behind it, and we probably won't ever hear about them again. Roblox has a certain market, and it actually does things, and it provides services, and you can't physically see it and do it, but there's actually you can I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I think you understand what I'm saying, where it's more or less that Roblox is a real company because it's kind of more genuine than other companies. At the same time, it has taken this huge haircut from basically $141 down to the low of 53. That's a 61% haircut, almost 62%. And this was not a very gradual. It was gradual in the beginning, but once it broke past this gap here, let me draw here on some lines here for you. Once it broke past this gap here, it was like hasta la vista, baby. It was just a waterfall, just caving in and just giving away, and the dam was just falling apart, and the sellers just appeared. The volume didn't kick up very much, which is surprising, but it was just a lot of just selling. Just weak hands, right? If people are looking into this, potentially we did hit. This is not true Fibonacci sequence here, but we hit this $52.34 here. Not to the T. We hit 53.63. Potentially bouncing here. Maybe building a base here for the next, like, again, heads up, it has earnings coming out, so that's always a question marks, right? Question marks. And it's very much a coin flip. That's my coin right there with the face on it. Beep. And then the American Eagle. Let's go here, boys. There we go. Okay. That's my eagle and its feet on holding on the branches. But anyways, I didn't major in art class, so that's fine. Looking at the standpoint, again, this could potentially hold here around $63 here, but it's very beaten down. It's kind of, if you're looking at an analogy, it's a boxer that's on the ropes right now. It just needs to get maybe a second wind if it can hold this level here. But yeah, I think it potentially can come back. Who knows? Let's see how earnings goes. Roblox. Hood is an acquisition target at best. Hood is a gamified trading platform already being copied by Fidelity and others. I honestly agree with you, Greg. Like, didn't they lose a bunch of lawsuits or potential stuff about Hood on the gaming or the gamifying, like you're saying, of like, ooh, shiny lights and spinning the dollar kind of scenario? Like, I'm not saying it's the best company, and I'm not saying I'm going to be backing up the truck and just investing 100% in it. But it's worth. It's still on the market, and it could be acquired for the users. Who knows? Like, who knows? Facebook could acquire it. Like, that would be quite insane. What's even the market cap of this? I don't even know how much. 15 billion. Okay, that's still pretty significant, but like, that would be pretty interesting for like a Facebook. Like, who knows? Like, Amazon can go out or Google can buy it and just like slowly sunset it, right? Who knows? I don't know. John, what's up, my dude? How you doing? Yeah, but yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Looks like the Nasdaq's still down about 20 basis points. A couple of the ones that we wanted to look at. I wanted to look out for upcoming stocks for the coming week. So we go to Earnings Whispers on. So we go here. Let's go swing ding ding a doo doo. This one over here. So you should see this now. So we got quite significant companies reporting earnings this week. Not as crazy as like we saw last week with the Facebooks and stuff like that, but there's a lot more versatile companies. So what we're looking at here, Monday, we got the old Chegg. Remember Chegg? Chegg, the college books and stuff like that. We got Take-Two Interactive. We got Simon Properties. We'll see how the retail market's doing there. Simon Property is the leader within that. Tencent and whatever. Pfizer, we'll see how that's doing. Again, we have BP, huge oil company. We got Harley Davidson. That's always an interesting one that used to watch, but don't really care too much about them anymore. The one on Tuesday after the close, we got Piton. Let's see if there's continuously still not allowing, not buying new merchandise, or basically seeing their inventories through the roof, and they have enough inventory to sell for now into eternity, because everyone literally owns a Peloton bike now. And I haven't seen the Peloton truck in my neighborhood for months. So that's a leader indicator on that one. We got my favorite fast food Mexican restaurant. We got Chipotle coming up. We got Corsair. That's going to be an interesting one as well. Lyft, not too much about it. XPO Logistics is going to be interesting to see on how that one turns out. We have CVS Health, Canopy Growth, that's a marijuana. Uber is basically going to be ducktailing on Lyft. Walt Disney's going to be an interesting one to watch, again, with the same note of potentially what's going to be happening in their parks and their movie business, and potentially unveiling new content, and seeing how the CEO is getting off to a rough start over there. Sonos, great speakers. MGM Resorts, always interesting to listen. Seeing anything pops out here. Yum, interesting. It's going to be kind of coinciding with Chipotle there. Coca-Cola has been gone gangbusters fairly. Datadog, if you remember that one, that has definitely been cutting severely as well. Canada Goose, again, very high-end market. We'll see on how their Christmas was. And then kind of going through here. Expedia, I would love to hear what they're saying about travel. Upwork, also interesting to kind of see on how many more people they have brought on. And I guess, Dave, for you, DexCon's going to help you with your SCNS to kind of see how that one plays out. HubSpot, always great for marketing stuff, understanding that. Cloudflare, very significant in the internet and how AWS is doing and how internet traffic is being going. Affirm, one of my favorite stocks of last year. This is definitely, I think, a potentially comeback in the market. We can look at that one. And then nothing really too much on Friday. I really don't care about Friday. Anyways, so any of these stocks that, oops, let me do that, move that are popping and locking for you here that we can look at. Let's see. Let's go. I want to look at Disney. So Disney, yeah, just kind of like considered kind of really beaten down here. This stock was over $200 at one point, right? And it's substantially come back here. Missed on last earnings just horribly, and it just continued to kind of sink lower here. Really didn't find any floor support for like a week plus, 2 weeks at a time. Made it somewhat of a comeback, and then gapped down again due to earnings, not earnings, to whatever reasons and so forth. And then now we're potentially going to see that, oh no, look out, we're looking for that potential earnings report that could be a huge question mark going in front of that one. The other one that I want, Firm, that's what I wanted to look at. AFRM. Yeah, this one definitely kind of like Roblox. This thing has definitely been cut in half because again, it's considered on the growth stock spectrum list, on getting way ahead of its earnings. Again, with the money supply or interest rates going higher, it's gonna be harder to borrow money, and at the same time, borrowing money is less to potentially for growth in the same side of maybe like you're not going to be growing 20-30% quarter over quarter. Maybe it's going to be 8 to 10% or something like that. Let's just kind of bring those margins down here a little bit and kind of going here. I kind of like it here. I want to buy it. I should have bought it here at 50, to be quite honest with you. I just didn't. I guess I didn't have a good alert out, but we'll see how this one definitely plays out with earnings coming out on Thursday after the close. Definitely fun to watch. Alan, what's up, my dude? Yes, Kelly D, what's up, dude? Have we looked at Ford? We have not. Let's look at Ford. I know Alan has been. Are you still in the Ford there, Alan? I know I am, and hasn't been fun the past couple months or weeks, really, ever since the rolling of 2022. But we'll see on how it goes through. This is definitely going to be something to look out for. This thing was how much was it up? Like 100 some odd percent of last year. Usually it needs to kind of come down here a little bit. This is definitely coinciding with the manufacturing bottlenecks that we always hear about. Like we've talked about that at the beginning of the stream, of people like, oh, bottlenecks are over here. People are not able to get their chips, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? Apple and Tesla is doing a pretty damn good job getting their chips for their components, because I think where did I read this at? They're more integrated vertically than just we're really working with suppliers and third-party companies. Ford definitely has felt the pain a lot, even though it has a fairly good product on there. Like the Mustang it's not a fabulous car to any standard, but it is a pretty good approach for a company as large size as Ford and how long it's been around to kind of approach the EV market. Alan says, yeah, I just bought some 2024 calls, the $40 strike. 2024 $40 strike. Okay, so the furthest one's down. Yeah. I guess you're the one who bought 3,000 shares of it, Alan. Definitely, yeah. That's a worthy bet. Again, you're 712 days out. That's a lot of time there. And I definitely think this whole EV play is just not a play of that last year. So that $40 strike doesn't mean it's going to hit 40, but it's definitely something that can kind of come into to play for sure. Ford has definitely been beat down. We're kind of bouncing off the 144 EMA, which is a pretty significant after earnings. Looking again, most likely you bought directly after earnings there, Alan, when their options were like super cheap here. The best time to buy leaps on a company you really do love and believe in that can potentially go much higher is usually after a earnings call. And if it's a very bad like earnings call, and if the stock's down tremendously, because again, stock was down almost over 10%. I think it was like 12 or 11% at the worst point. Yeah. Tommy's asking about TGH, shipping containers. Yeah, shipping containers. I think that's still, I want to look at this on a weekly chart. This is a beautiful looking chart. Like, this is absolutely insane. This has just gone completely gangbusters here on the weekly side. It has hit the 21 EMA mostly every single time besides here, and just continue to kind of bounce here. So this is the reason why, like, this is, I don't know what exactly, what is it? Tommy's saying this is about with shipping containers. So if you don't know anything, you've been sleeping on a rock for the last 18 months, basically it is a pain in the ass to try to ship something from China, due to not just the voyage, the 15 or like 16 days it takes to get here, which is not a crazy part. It's usually when you see the big like shipping container crates, the generic ones. Those are basically, they said before COVID and stuff like that, it was like $2,000. Excuse me, at some parts in COVID, that same container to ship the same distance was like $20,000. Like, it's gone completely gangbusters on the prices of shipping containers due to the bottlenecks, like the problems with the ports. A lot of ports being shut down in China due to people testing positive, and they just shut everything down for like 2 or 3 weeks. It is, and then we have a supply or user shortage with a lot of people laborers on removing everything, and our whole process of the supply chain globally has been stressed substantially on just coming back online, people ordering frantically because they think that everything's going to go to hell again, and it just creating every single bottleneck is being hit, and just being maxed out again, from our ports to the shipping containers. And really just a lot of people just, I guess, I won't say overreacting, but it's more or less like maybe not understanding, and maybe like, hey, let's take 2 steps back and let's kind of rewrite the processes here, and we'll kind of go from there. Exactly, John. They have a plan ZZZ for anything, because Tesla, what does Tesla do? It's run by a bunch of space engineers. So yeah, I can't say too much negative about Tesla, because it's like my baby girl, darling, my sweet Delilah. I'm coming through here, but yeah, Tesla, it's a different beast, and I think you know that, John, right? So do you think the bear market, question mark? So Yoki 112, I don't know. Like, that's more of like if you know me personally, like, it's just kind of like a jokey a joke thing that I do, especially when I just kind of go on the Discord and I always say everything's kind of chop. I don't know what's going to happen. I can only say, like, if this happens, this is what my actions are going to be. If this happens, this is what my actions are going to be. I don't like to try to be like other folks where they're like, oh, this is a bull market or bear market. It's like, you just got to go what you get. Like, there's no man, woman, or any entity out there can really substantially control the market and tell you what's going to happen, right? Like, no one knows the future. So that's kind of like a joke there. So I have no idea if it's a bear market or bull market. So my criteria for a bear market crash would be a move of 20-ish% more in the overall indices. So that's with the Nasdaq and the SP 500. We're seeing a decline of that magnitude. So within the Nasdaq, it's definitely been a little chop here. We've done down about 18-ish%, and the Nasdaq, the S&P 500 was about 13-ish. So almost at that 20% level where it's going to be considered like a crash. But we are kind of bouncing here a little bit. But let's see how everything unfolds when we start seeing some more information coming through. Because again, it is a midterm election year, which is pretty, historically speaking, very choppy. And at the same time, guess what? We're going to be potentially raising interest rates multiple times, and that has definitely got the fear in the market, especially in the growth sector. So those are the things that I'm looking at. Again, I'm not expecting a crazy year like 2020 or even 2021. I just think of just a lot of chop, honestly. And I can show you that when I zoom out here. So the Nasdaq, so if you were trading in that 2015 to 2016-ish range into early 2017, it doesn't really do it well. You basically can kind of see it here where the Fed was looking to raise interest rates, and it was just like completely just nothing. Like, we didn't really see much. It was just churning, just kind of constantly just churning, nothing going on here. This is perfect for selling puts or just doing premiums, selling for options kind of scenario. And I think we're in the start of that slightly. Again, you can blame everything on Jay Powell or whatever, but there is going to be a time where we need to kind of get high off the hog kind of scenario. And these moves that we saw from 2020 to 2021 were astronomical and just completely gangbusters. And those cannot be, those can't last forever. Like, we cannot just continue going higher until we break through go to the moon kind of scenario. But yeah, there was actually something funny. We went to the planetarium this morning or this afternoon, and they had asked kids to draw their like a planet or a moon or something like that. And I saw something like this that had the if you can see this, let me go here. If you can see this, it has someone drew a moon with the Bitcoin symbol on it, and it said "to the moon." I thought that was hilarious. Couple other people were like, what is this guy taking a picture of someone else's kid's picture? I don't think it was a kid. I think it was some kind of an adult. I'm doing air quotes, an adult. We're all not adults. We have the age to be an adult, but we all act like kids sometimes. So let's be honest. But yeah, that's what I potentially could see in the market again, especially in the Nasdaq. Let's kind of do like a quick fib here within the QQQs or the triple Qs, potentially coming back up to again that chop range, which around 370 here ish. That's kind of something that we could be bouncing in and around of, and potentially seeing that kind of pop up there in that range, kind of going lower here. I knew you would love that, Alan. Isn't that great? I'm surprised I didn't see any Dogecoin or anything like that. Rivian, I don't have much to say about them. I was just very hesitant. What's Rivian? Was it RIVIAN? Yeah, here it is. Yeah, this is this is the same thing we just talked about. Like these huge, like IPO, like blast offs. Like this is insane. Everyone thought this was like the next Tesla, even though they sold maybe like 300 cars, and that's very concerning, right? Like if you go back in history, that's why it's important to study history. Tesla was hated when it first came out. Like I think it was trading at like $15-17 or something like that when it first came out. People hated it, right? Like and like stocks just don't always go up, right? I hope that people I think hopefully people understand that. But with Rivian, like you have to understand what was going on at the time. Like we're talking, this was 11/15, so this is November of last year, right? So let's just do it in context. Let's go to where Tesla was on November timeframe. Tesla was literally at its peak, right? It was all the way up at $1,243, right? Okay, this is before Elon selling. There was that kind of those tweets about it, but this is something that just remember where the people's mindset was. Like people's mindset was like, holy moly guacamole, Tesla is almost at $1,300. I can buy this other stock company that actually has a truck, and I can buy it for under $100. It's going to the moon. Pew, 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 shooting my fake guns into the sky. Of course, you realize of like, oh, holy moly, they actually don't sell many trucks. And yes, they have a great deal with Amazon, and actually Ford invested in the company, but that, I don't know how much that can save someone, honestly, because Amazon's not buying their pickup trucks. They have a whole different chassis for the Amazon delivery fleet, right? And that you know how long that takes to potentially roll out on that front. Because again, learning from history of like how long it took Tesla to make a reliable car, right, and get it out there to the masses, like it's not an easy feat, not at all. And I'm just very, very careful with that, especially as we start seeing these high flyers like this. Like for this, for like to be, I think I bought into earnings. I was so confident. I bought like the $80 put, and I sold it like 3 days later. Right? It was great. And that's just my opinion. Like I'm not saying that it's a shit company. I'm just saying like we're strictly talking the stock price. You have to understand where people's mindset were in this time frame in early November of last year, where they were just seeing Tesla going to the moon, and they're like, I need to get on the next ride to the moon, and I think Rivian's there. So very much in that mindset. Doesn't mean it's a crappy company. The trucks look fine, I guess. I'm not really much of a design person, but yeah, I like trucks. What you think about Lulu? What have they been doing? Yeah, Lulu was your stay-at-home, working, comfortable kind of clothes kind of scenario for the pandemic, right? Like this is let's see here. Let me update this real fast. I want to do this here. We do a Fibonacci Extensions here. I bet you want to hit something. Yep. The 1272 and near the 155 EMA here on the weekly side. Okay, so just make sure where I'm looking at this one, Chris. This is the weekly chart. This is 3 years weekly chart here. And from the move before the pandemic to the low to the high here, we're seeing a 1272 extension at $311. That means a potentially somewhat level support here. That could be something to look at. Again, that doesn't mean that exactly at 311 it's going to be the perfect slice of support here, but that is definitely something to look out for. At the same time, we're seeing the 55 EMA, 155 144 EMA, which is a green line here, being level somewhat of support here. Can it go higher here? Sure, right? But it's still very much beaten down. Like it's just very much beaten down. It needs to kind of find some kind of a base here, and we'll see on how it potentially can go into trade. Some levels to look out for is maybe getting back up to 350 and 377 to kind of see how that one plays out. Any thoughts on PLTR technologies? Thinking of getting back into them. Maybe got some 2024 leaps in a few shares. Yeah, PLTR. I got to thank Alpaca for that one, as always. He got me into this one super early here. I still own my initial bulk of shares that I bought in the beginning, but definitely been very much beaten down. If you know anything on how the government contracts work, Alan, I think this one's going to be doing just fine here, but this is still part of that growth play, right? Like, this is something that is completely it's got a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Like they have a very it's not a delicious taco or a nice good piece of pizza. This is like just a sour kind of moldy kind of taste in your mouth. Like, this is not, a lot of people are going to be kind of stirring away from it, just because of the meanness of it that it had, and potentially how it wrecked a lot of people's accounts. That being said here, I do kind of like the setup here. So we're going to do the extensions the other direction. Go here and here. Yeah, $20 potentially could be something that we could be looking at. Let me go here. This thing was at $45. Wow, I totally forgot. Because again, this thing has had a whole hellapalooza life story. Like, it got evolved with Andrew left, the largest short seller publicly for many years. He's kind of stopped putting out short reports. It's got a Wall Street Bets. It was insane, right? Like, this thing has had a crazy ride. It has a lot of history built into it, and you have to understand that history to potentially trade it, and how much pain and suffering and sacrifice has been put into the stock for a lot of people who've been getting hit left and right. But yeah, I think it could be potentially a nice play here. I need to relook at its last earnings. I forget what happened here on why it lost money, but I know they're growing their contracts pretty substantially, so I don't think it's going to be like a down and out kind of thing. But yeah, I wonder how much these options cost all the way in 2021. Yeah, you can get those 40 ones for about the same price you got the Ford ones, Alan. But look at FB, please, says Raphael. Yeah, FB is not much to say here. This thing is just somewhat of a dumpster fire here. Like, this is just huge red candle, and this is usually just like a very large, like a warning sign of like a lot of pain has happened here. A lot of blood has been shed on this stock here. You can just literally let's look on the daily chart on the large gap down. I think it was down like 25, 27%, 30% at one point. And that's insane. It lost more money than any other company in history, and on an overnight basis, on how much its market cap has literally gone to shit. Again, with their understanding a failing of within the Oculus like headset zone, definitely failing at uh, the stuff behind like ad tracking with Apple closing the door basically them and then keeping like $11 billion of potential ads off the table because they can't track you between different apps and the browsers. So I think that's all good stuff, but like I don't use Facebook and I really don't use Instagram, but like I don't know what they potentially can do. Like I definitely use WhatsApp a lot. That is definitely something I do use of what that's in their product realm. But I know they've talked about trying to monetize WhatsApp, which kind of gone to the wayside. But they might be forced to start doing that, like getting some kind of like ad stuff on your WhatsApp stuff. That would be kind of insane. Bravo says, "Hello there. How to tell when to sell or cover calls from technical and analysis point or views? Thanks." So, selling covered calls is not for everyone. So, selling covered calls. So, let's say if I had 100 shares of Facebook and I sold the 350 call that's expiring the week of earnings, which I wouldn't recommend doing that short. You'd be making up that wouldn't make the difference up from that drop. It's usually if you just want to churn honestly a little bit of income by selling those calls. It could be from every kind of standpoint. So let me just kind of find let me think of a simple stock like an AMD, right? Like it does move quite a bit here because again the chips have been pretty okay. I know a good one, KO. So Coca-Cola is coming out, right? Coca-Cola doesn't move too much. A lot of people do cover calls on Coca-Cola, AT&T. Like you're not making too much, so you can potentially sell if you have 100 or 100. Just make it simple: 100 shares of Coca-Cola, and earnings are coming out. But you think it might be kind of bearish or bull or more bearish or bullish, depending which way you want to go. You can look out. Usually, people only maybe go 45 to 30 days because again, you have to kind of understand how theta decay works. Because again, even 40 days out, okay, buying the 65 call or selling the 65 call, you're only getting 25 cents. You're not getting too much with these like slow kind of daisy kind of growing kind of stocks here. You're going to be getting a boatload more when you're doing more aggressive stuff within like a high growth stock. So it depends on how you want to sell or cover calls. I've done it in the past just because I own like, I don't own much Disney anymore. I think I sold all of it. Where I was selling cover calls on Disney or because again, like I was just selling usually 45 to 35 days out, and I was usually selling. They're all out of the money, and they're usually close to like I think it was like maybe the 30 or 20 delta on that chain. Tommy's asking about MP. Yeah, that was a great one last year as well. Supply materials kind of thing. This thing has always been super choppy for me, and that I really it shook me out multiple times on the way up here, and it wasn't the best execution for me to trade this one. That being said, here we do have somewhat of a double top here at $51 here from that previous levels there, but now coming back lower again due to, for whatever reasons, I don't know the fundamental story behind this one as much as I used to, especially with the huge, look at this volume kind of kicking here. It wasn't even earnings kind of gap down. So I wonder what happened there, Tommy, if you can put a little update of what the hell happened there like 2 days ago. But this one is definitely maybe potentially finding some support at $35.73. But this whole gap down kind of worries me, so I really don't want to be touching this white yet until I understand what happened there. Raphael, that red candle is funny, even though I lost money. that Facebook candle, yeah, that's not a fun. Like It's always bad when you're like, okay, where did the stock go? Oh shit, it's all the way down there. You have to like tilt your head lower. Like I feel your pain. Like I've been there where stocks have dropped on me like that in a hell in a handbasket. One thing, is it UNH United Healthcare? Yeah, look at this one, guys. United Healthcare. This is looking quite interesting here. I kind of like this potential play. It's behind earnings, and it's United Healthcare Group. I think they're always going to be making money. This is, if you're not familiar with this, like insurance on basically, I think it's the largest insurance in the United States. I think it's behind Blue Cross Blue Shield or head of Blue Cross Blue Shield. With earnings, it really didn't do too much on the earnings, which is fine. But this whole setup of just kind of this winding up in this scenario here is kind of already kind of broken out here a little bit. But this, I know it's kind of pricey here, but this, the 480 range is potentially what I'm going to be risking here to potentially get back above 500 plus. So this is going to be a trade that I'm going to be doing. Again, my completely own opinion and my viewpoint on this is I'm risking potentially this like 479, 480-ish range. Maybe if I'm feeling lucky, maybe 475 and maybe cut some at this level and maybe cut the rest at 475, 472. I don't know yet, but I do like this kind of setup here where we're kind of spooled up between the 55 EMA, got the squeeze, we have earnings behind us, while everything else has kind of been beat down and is kind of getting slaughtered here. I think that this one could potentially bounce back up to 510 and maybe see a pretty substantial rally within this kind of sector going through there. But yeah, that was definitely an interesting one that kind of popped up on my screens. Microsoft also, like, they're still working on that deal with Activision Blizzard kind of thing going through. I think it's going to be interesting to kind of watch that one. I think this is still an interesting one to watch. This has definitely been very beaten up as well. Again, it was a high at 350 and it's come down back to the 300 range, which again is not a crazy haircut compared to like Robinhood or like a Skills. It's definitely, it got a haircut to the low to around 21%. Kind of where we're looking at now, it's basically down like as much as the S&P 500, which is around that 12 or 13% range. Looking at the futures here again, we got the Nasdaq down 30 basis points. We got the RUT just taking another dump here at nearly 0.5%. Bitcoin's up a staggering 3.44% here. So again, that Bitcoin, we're looking for that 46.66 plus to really see this one. What am I doing here? I want to create an alert. What the heck? Where's there it is. It moved on me. To potentially see that kind of pop up on that range. Supposedly a Chinese company owns 8% of MP and they overpaid MP for materials and helped boost their profits. Oh, that seems a little scandalous there, Tommy. Andreas is saying, taking Disney calls and Piton calls this week. Godspeed, my friend. If we're looking, we haven't looked at Piton, but we did talk about it slightly. This thing has just been a poop and a half. Like, this thing was at $171, right? Like, insane. Like, completely who, what, or why it got up to this range. That's very bubble-ish up here. Bubblicious. Traded sideways. Never could get back up to that range with earnings. Took it down some more. Went sideways, and then just more earnings. Just kind of took it down. And then, which is my fear for people that are in Facebook, but I don't think Facebook's completely in the same standard here. Again, we're looking at a weekly chart, so this is a whole 3 years. So this is before the pandemic, the stock was basically trading around $30, right? Let's just call it for basic, simple terms. Once the pandemic hit, everyone wanted a Peloton. Like, look at this trend here, right? So it was holding the 8 EMA for weeks, months, years at a time, right? Got shooken up here a little bit here. We called this video here a little bit. We did a video called the head and shoulders pattern here. So we called this a shoulder and this a shoulder, and we're like, this is going to be going down and crashing in a burning dumpster fire here. And it took longer than we thought, but it definitely did happen. The same thing kind of we talked about. I think if Bear's on the call, we did the same thing with Zoom. Kind of the same kind of head and shoulders pattern here. It played out not as nicely as Piton, but those levels have just been dramatically beat. Even though Zoom has a great product, it just, the price level just got too crazy. Like the earnings were just way out of whack. Like the stock should not be trading at this price here. Peloton does a great product, but guess what? The demand's drying up. Everyone really has a Peloton who wants a Peloton and who can afford a Peloton. So things need to calm down over there. But we'll see how the earnings go. I wish you the best, my friend. Oh, you're saying Peloton people are looking to buy them out? Yeah, who knows? I don't know who would want to buy. Again, like Google can swoop in and just buy them. Like they bought Fitbit. What the hell happened to Fit? Like those kind of scenarios. Like that can happen, yeah, for sure. And it's usually the best time to buy it. Like if you remember Fit, I traded Fit when it first came out, Makeshift. I traded this at $50. Yep. Look, it went up to $50, okay? Just this is what, it's so important to understand history and understand how things play out. Like when you have a huge boom cycle like this, and this was like 16, maybe 15, that we saw these kind of market moves, it just went to crap because it was like, it's a new fun cool thing. But guess what? It got way ahead of itself. And then over like a year plus, 18 months, it just got obliterated. And then it just kind of bounced around here in the $5 range. And then Google's like, I think we'll buy it. And then pop, it went up to that $7 range. And then just, again, nothing until then. Another one is the old GoPro. All right. Do you remember GoPro? Like, that's the same kind of scenario. Like it came out to that Christmas time frame. Everyone was going completely gangbusters here. It's going to be the Christmas present of the century. Something, it's like, I can't imagine the GoPro scenario and how it was just like, it was the godsend product. It was the best thing in the world. Like the Fitbit, right? Like we've seen these play out so many times here. Like you have to understand history. Like history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. So what we saw with Piton, what we saw with all these other products, like they're great. They're going to be around for a long period of time, but they're not going to be getting back up to that $200 price target. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. I got some shares of PLTR earnings is on February 17th. It's a good idea to sell covered calls tomorrow, or should I wait for a closer than report? Options are more expensive, right? So the best time to buy options or sell options, honestly, my friend, is on large up days. So it's kind of like a basic like mindset. Like if you want to buy options, like if you want to buy calls, it's best to buy on down days because the options price are going to be substantially lower because of how the options pricing works. So and then the way the volatility kind of shrinks with it, because it's further out of the money, it's going to be costing a lot less, and the way the time decay works on that front. So if you want to protect yourself with like PLTR, again, this is like if I had 100 shares of PLTR or whatever at $12, I would go to the March timeframes. We'll see in like, okay, they're expecting a move of $3.24 plus or minus. So you can be a little bit more aggressive and maybe sell like the $20 or like the $18 ones potentially. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Who knows what can happen with PLTR? And if you only had 100 shares, you only can sell one of them, right? Like, how much is that really worth it? You're only going to be getting $20 for it. So that's how it would work if you did that. Makes if you're saying Fitbit is on fire. Yeah, Fitbit is, well, they've been bought and sold, and I know there's still products that are still out in the wild, but like no one really talks about it, right? Makes you saying I agree. I really think that yeah, a lot of people's valuations went crazy. Like, you have to understand that. Like, I look back at some of my older videos and I'm just like, wow, like I remember that on how much that cost, and like how much people were like taking notes is super important. Like, I go through journals and stuff on my phone like crazy, and just kind of like, not just like write a diary, but like journal, like today during March of 2020, I was writing like, holy crap, the market's crashing, everything's going to shit. But guess what? It didn't. Like, it went down substantially, but things came back. Like, you have to kind of keep yourself on that kind of front there. Let's see here. Amazon. Someone talked about Amazon. Yeah, that they had an interesting quarter here, making a lot of money. Right? Like, they made 27 on this call here. Quite insane here. We'll see on how, if this can hold here. It did hit the 55 EMA to the downside, so we'll see if this one can potentially kind of ring up some more positivity, because again, it's just basically hitting the bottom of its former trend here. That doesn't mean that it's going to be, it needs to get back in this like kind of trend line area here to kind of see it potentially play out to that back into, because again, if you look here just on the yearly chart, it's a very choppy looking chart. Like, this is not a very pretty chart. Like, Microsoft is a little bit more more elegant. Nvidia, very choppy here as well. Definitely Microsoft is one of my favorite. If you're looking at a true sector that I really like, I like the financials. Call me an idiot, call me a dummy, but I think that banks are going to be doing just fine, because most banks honestly do just fine. Like, they do just fine, and they do actually very well, especially on a potentially, not even potentially at this point, a higher interest rate rising. So this is something that I think the financials in XLF is what I own, with options and a lot of stock. Adobe is one that I talked about here a little bit here. We talked about after its earnings, potentially that floor support around 544, broke past that again due to a lot of those valuations and the high growth stocks and the fear of interest rates hiking. We went back down to 500. So 500 is going to be a pretty substantial level of support here, I think, with Adobe. If it can stay above that range, I think Adobe could make a kind of a crawling back up the ladder kind of pattern, even though it's a fantastic product. I know things have kind of come in here as well. Talking about some fantastic operators, Salesforce. So Salesforce, we know that they acquired Slack. Slack has been growing substantially on more enterprises businesses. Looking here on the Fibonacci sequence, I wanted to show this extension level here. We've broken past a lot of these levels here, but we're coming into that previous bottom here. Like, this is the crazy part, right? This is the crazy part. Like, why? Okay, people were going insane for at $311, so the $300 plus range. People were buying it. Missed large on this because they haven't figured out how to integrate Slack into their selling and schema of things. And then it's considered a growth stock, so it kind of got hit with the whole tide, and it just continued kind of trading lower here. I think that, again, we're looking at, let's go to the monthly side. This thing, oh, not monthly, I'm sorry, weekly. The weekly side. So this thing hit at, when everyone thought that everyone's going to be dying and going to zombies, it hit $115. So let's just do a very basic fib analysis here. Swing high to lower. So it's coming into around 209. Is going to be looking for some support. So 209 to 203 are pretty substantial here, because again, those are previous bottoms that we're talking about here. So that doesn't mean it has a significant floor support. What it means is like, hey, that is something, that's a pattern, right? Like, that's a pattern. Doesn't mean it has to repeat. It's just an interesting point of data of potentially building a larger narrative of a support level. Okay, also on the weekly side, we're trading in right with the 144 EMA. At the same time, we have a very significant Fibonacci extension from the previous swing high to low at that 1272 extension, which is a very significant level here at 209.60. And it kind of bounced in around that range over the last 2 weeks here. I want to see how this one does play out. It does have earnings coming out fairly soon here. It looks like February, it looks like beginning of March here. It's going to have earnings, and we'll see on how that one plays out. But let's see how the rest of the month plays out and how we potentially get through the very short month of February on potentially the valuations, the fear of the Fed raising rates more significantly, looking at the potential of the economy, especially with inflation, and how that translates into the dollars that go into you and my pockets and how we spend it. Are people more willing to go traveling again? Like the one that if Bear's on the call, he's going to be making fun of me. I owned quite a bit, and it literally was like my second to worst trade last year, which was, oh my gosh, I think I just deleted it from my memory. Jets, right? I thought this was really going to be coming back more than I thought, like with traveling and so forth. It didn't really come back. Like it literally just was staggering around. Other variants came out, more restrictions on EU, all the kind of things. Like it just never really kind of came back here. Is it going to come back now? I don't know. Definitely it could be spooling back up for something. But if it holds this like 1925-ish range, we could potentially easily see it running back up to 24. But this is definitely something that's been beaten down. And I haven't really listened to many of like the airlines comments. I know they're having those issues with workforce and basically the demand's there, but there's not many people. Like I was trying to do some Google flights to visit my brother in California, and it was like there weren't that many flights, but the prices were astronomical. Because again, I think it's the demand is high, but the supply is low. Like they're not having too many flights going to either direction, especially how many people are going to China or going to Europe right now. There's not many people doing that. So I don't know. Well, that's my two takes on that. Anyone else got any more comments, questions, or concerns? If not, I'm going to call it a night and maybe watch some more Arcane. Or no, actually, I did finish Arcane already on Netflix. If you're a fan of League of Legends or any kind of like a sci-fi kind of scenario fantasy world, definitely check that out. And then, of course, Jack Reacher is out on Netflix, which is interesting. But if you don't have any more comments, questions below, again, thank you everyone for coming out. I really do appreciate it. You know, I haven't been able to do this for quite some time because I was sick. I got the COVID, and then I had a lingering cough for like 3 weeks, and I didn't want to jump on the stream coughing into my mic and coughing in the webcam, and just people getting annoyed by that. So I do apologize. I have been kind of absent on that front. But again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I will catch you guys on the flip side. All right? Peace.